How to build your own 3D printed Mori rabbit ball jointed doll. First off, you're going to want to glue all the magnets into all the magnet holes in the head. The magnet size this doll uses is 6 by 3 millimeters. When gluing the magnets into the slots on the back of the head, take special care to make sure that they match up in terms of polarity with the ones you just glued into the bits on the front piece. Make sure you do the same with the front hairpiece too, as well as with the eyes. The doll's tail is attached via a magnet. There is a small slot hidden within the abdomen piece, so all you need to do is add a dab of super glue on that slot, then you can toss a magnet inside and then use another magnet to guide that magnet into the slot. Then you can just leave the guiding magnet there for about a minute while it dries. Now glue another magnet facing the opposite direction into the tail piece. The holes in the hands and feet are sized specifically to fit 1.75mm filament rods. If you're printing in resin, you can just use equivalent sized metal rods like craft metal. Depending on the material you printed this in, you might need to glue these, however, it's generally a push fit situation. Before we put the super glue away, we need to attach the ears to the head. An optional step I always like to take is to gloss up the eyes. To do this I use UV gloss top coat for nails. I just apply a thin layer to each eye and then hit it with a UV torch. To get a smooth even surface, I apply a second thin coat to each eye and then hit it with a torch again. Now I didn't do this for this particular doll, but I highly encourage you to hot glue suede the sockets, especially for dolls that are quite top heavy like these, as it really helps with posing with all the weight distribution. I cover this step in my other tutorials and there's tons of knowledge on it if you just want to search hot glue sueding ball jointed dolls on YouTube. Anyway, now it's time to string the doll. We start by threading 3mm elastic cord up through the chest piece and out through one of the armholes. Since we started with his left arm, we bead each part of his left arm onto the cord. Then when we get to the hand, we loop the cord around the pin we inserted and then feed the cord back up through the arm. Now we pass the cord through the armhole and out of the other armhole and repeat the same process for the other arm. Now we pass the cord back through the armhole and out of the bottom of the chest. Then we trim off the excess, leaving just enough so that we can tie a couple basic but sturdy knots. Then again, you cut off even more excess. Now we thread the body and legs. Take even more cord and pass it from the neck, out through the chest and into the abdomen, and then out through one of the leg holes. Now you bead each part of that leg on just as you did with the arms. Just like with the hands, loop the cord around the pin in the foot, and then direct it back through the leg and back into the abdomen. Now push the cord through the other leg hole and repeat the same process for the other leg. Now that the legs are strung, we direct the cord back up through the chest and out of the neck. Then we trim the cord, leaving a moderate amount of excess. Then we pull the cord taut and tie a knot to keep it in place. This step may not be necessary if you hot glue sueded the doll. However, wiring really helps with maintaining poses for ball jointed dolls, so I always like to do it. To wire him, I'm using 2mm thick aluminium craft wire. I just measure out how long a piece I'll need and thread it up through the leg, about to midway through the abdomen, and make sure it's completely tucked and not, scraping away at the foot. And then I do the same for the other leg and then for the arms. Now we can attach the head. I'm using an S-hook here to keep the elastic loop from slipping back out of the head socket. However, there is a 3D printed stopper included in the files that slots nicely into the back headpiece. You just slip it between the cords and underneath a knot. The final step is to snap that head together.